I have decided something. What have you decided? I have decided
that
when we're born, we have a mommy and daddy, right? And then when we grow up and get married, we have children of our own. And then our children grow up and get married and have children. And so on and so on. So it's very important and very fun also to...
Happy Tuesday, you filthy animals. This is Miranda, and you're listening to Interesting Sex. It's a podcast about who, how, where, and why we fuck. I'm really excited today because I have a guest. Her name is Platinum Puzzy, P-U-Z-Z-Y, and she's a BBW, which I found out is a big, beautiful woman. And the show is basically magic. Not only do I get to talk to her about being a BBW, a really successful adult entertainer, but we also talk about Feederism, which I didn't know was a thing, Looner Fetish, which has to do with balloons, which I didn't know was a thing. We get to talk about farts, and we get to talk about a lot more cool stuff. So, like I said, this whole episode is off the hook. Check her show notes for any of her information, or you can find her now on Instagram at Platinum Puzzy to see who you're listening to. And she's really cool, and to offer her your support. If you have interesting sex and you want to tell me about your sex, or just want to see what we have for sale in our goodies section of my internet store, go to interestingsexpodcast.com or email me at interestingsexpodcast@gmail.com. Please feel free to rate and subscribe and share my podcast with all of your friends so we can create a more sex-positive, open, sharing community where everyone is encouraged to be themselves. And with no further ado, let's open our ears, our hearts, and our holes and give a nice warm welcome to Platinum Puzzy.
Hello.
Hello? Hi, is this Kari?
It is. Hello, Miranda.
Hi, it's me. How did you know?
I don't know. I just guessed. I must have mental telepathy.
Thanks for coming to talk with us today. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Likewise.
So we're going to talk to you about, the usual sex kind of stuff. Why don't you tell us who you are and what it is that you do, who you are as a human, how you identify sexually, and a little bit about yourself.
I am Kari, but everyone calls me Carrie because that's how they think it's pronounced. But it's actually Kari, K-A-R-I, Anthony, also known as Platinum, P-U-Z-Z-Y, Platinum Puzzy in the adult industry. And I did that because at the time that my name was invented, I guess, or given to me, if you put in pussy in Google search, you got all kinds of different pop-ups, like different people. If you put in P-U-Z-Z-Y, nothing came up. So I thought, wow, there's my place in the world. Platinum, P-U-Z-Z-Y. And it just stuck from there. So I identify as female, but I am definitely a liberal, open-minded person who is, I don't judge, be who you are, but I am personally female. I love females. I love males. I just love everybody. So
you're sexually open to anything, but you are identify as a female?
Absolutely.
Okay. That sounds like fun.
It is. It's lots of fun.
Yes, and we got in contact today because you have a whole nother realm of experience to talk to us about today from a whole different perspective, because you are a BBW.
I am a big, beautiful woman, yes.
Right. I love that. And so let's just start with what that means, maybe if you know how it got started and how you found your place in this world.
Well, as far as BBW is a genre or niche within the adult industry that was created for the girls that don't fit into the typical skinny, Barbie. I don't even want to say Barbie, but that typical porn look where you are young and thin and fit, and there's a lot of girls that just don't fit into that category. So the industry, had to honor the girls that don't fit, for lack of a better way of of describing it. And that's how the BBW genre started. Unfortunately, in my opinion, the BBW starts at like a size 8 for the modeling world and the adult world, when I personally think it doesn't really start till size 14 or 16. But nonetheless, we now have a place in the adult industry, and I am a large woman, and that's where I fit in.
That's awesome. You have done a lot of work in making this part of the industry grow personally, right? You've put a lot of your time and effort into, you're telling me about like award shows or even having a voyeur house, and all centered towards like big, beautiful women.
When I initially got into the industry, I didn't really know where, even though I was a BBW and that's how I was identified, I didn't realize in the beginning that I was going to be fighting for more recognition and more opportunities for big women in this industry. And that kind of became my goal, was to fight for rights for big women to have the same opportunities that other women have in this industry. And so as a result, I co-created and was the organizer and owner of BBW Fan Fest, which took place in 2012 and 2013, which was an awards show and trade show and parties and, just a weekend of fun that honored big, beautiful women in the adult industry. As a result, now most awards now have some sort of BBW category, and I'm pretty confident that the BBW Fan Fest was responsible, or at least a big part of why these award shows are now honoring BBWs. And then I went on to do the BBW Cam House, which was a 4-year run of a live voyeur house where you could watch our cameras 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If we had a sex party, or if we were shooting porn, or if we were webcamming, or whatever we were doing, you could tune in to the website and watch it anytime, any day. And every room had a camera: the bathrooms, the kitchen, the pantry, all the bedrooms. Yeah, it was fun.
So did you really think that was fun though?
I did. It was fun, but it definitely came with its challenges. The mistake that I feel like I made was that I lived in the home that I was using for the cam house, because I felt like I was the only person that was going to provide 24-hour consistent activity, which was true. I mean, other girls came and went. I stayed here. I was the consistent party that was here, and, I had my sex, and I do my showers, and, all my everyday living. I think that going forward, if I was ever to do it again, or if anybody was ever to do the same, I don't recommend living in the house that you use for your business, for this type of business, because it becomes, it's hard to disconnect from the business world and have a personal life, especially when it's on cam. So a lot of my privacy, I had no privacy.
Yeah, you have nowhere to go unless you get a hotel room, but then you don't feel like you're at home.
Right, because I'm a business person and I'm a workaholic. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is there nothing going on at the house? I need to go home. I need to make sure that, yeah.
Right. You need to make sure someone's there all the time. So it was, nobody else lived with you at that time. It was just you, and then you would hire people to come in?
Well, the way that it worked was, initially I just had a bunch of visitors, and girls would come and go. They'd stay for a few days or sometimes a few weeks. It all really just varied. And then eventually I did let girls live here, and we set it up so that they had cheap rent, and we all pitched in, and, it was kind of a joint effort. We did it that way for a while. And, all of I think the situation for me, had I had a big financial backing, and I'd had, more people involved in terms of helping the operation itself, it would have been more successful. But for me to be one person trying to market the site, house it, housing everyone, making sure there was food in the house, making sure it was clean, it was a lot for one person. So eventually I just decided that it wasn't my passion project anymore. And because I didn't have the passion, I decided that it was time to close shop.
Yeah, 4 years is a long time to have.
With no privacy.
And are you naked all the time when you were in the house, or just
I'm
doing your normal
all the time anyway?
Are you naked right now?
I'm naked right now.
That's amazing. So when you were doing that, were you able to like have dates and serious relationships or not really? Or what is your dating life like?
My dating life is fantastic. I have an amazing partner. We don't have labels, so I don't call him my boyfriend or my spouse or my, we are in a mutually beneficial arrangement that works for us, and we just don't put a title on it. And I actually like it that way. For a long time, I felt like a lot of people felt the need to identify a person as a specific, place, or they felt like they had to have a title. And for me, I don't need that. He's here when he needs to be here, and he does what he needs to do, and he makes me very, very happy. And I actually met him during this project, and he has been there and helped me tremendously in terms of personal growth. And, when it was time for me to close shop, it was a very difficult decision to make, because when you're passionate about something and you love something so much, it's difficult to say, okay, it's now time to pull the plug. So he was there and helped me rationalize and very supportive during a time that I felt torn, It's like breaking up with someone that you still love. Like, you don't want to let them go, but you know that it's just a toxic energy in your life that's pulling from the things that need your attention, and you can't give it to you can't give it that dedicated attention and energy because you're so focused on that one thing. So yeah, he was very awesome. So yeah, I found this amazing relationship or partner in the midst of the cam house, and we're still going strong almost 5 years later.
Wow. That's awesome. When you're doing the cam house, do people pay to be like members to come watch whatever they want, or how does that work? And is the adult industry your only form of income, or do you have other work as well?
As far as my only form of income, I am a multitasker. I have various talents, most of which I obtained from being in the adult industry for 14 years. Blogging, I can build websites, I can do graphic design, filming, photography, editing, you name it, marketing. And I'm even venturing into potentially doing personal seminars and webinars where I do adult industry life coaching. So I help girls that are in the business who need help with maybe not, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor, but maybe someone to talk to that says, I'm going through this situation and I just don't know how to continue to webcam while I'm going through this situation. Or maybe I'm escorting and I'm feeling like I'm at a dead end, or, just someone that can help them say, okay, here's what I think that you should do, and give them some direction and hope that, they're able to manage with those, the advice that I give them. As far as the cam house is concerned, it was a website. It was called bbwcamhouse.com. The link is no longer live. But yes, you paid to be a member. You paid a certain amount a month, and you would get either 3-day access, 7-day access, or monthly access. And that access gave you, you would be able to watch all of the cameras in the house. And we had videos available. Like, there was a lot more to do than just watch the cameras, but that was essentially the main meal, was that you came and you watched all 20 cameras in the house. Some rooms had multiple cameras. The bathrooms have one each, but not only were there cameras, but there's also audio. So right. You could hear the conversations. You could hear when someone was having sex. You could hear when someone was in a shower. Like it was real. I called it real reality because there was no scripting. It wasn't one of those like Bad Girls House, Bad Girls Club, or, reality shows where it's like, okay, well, today when we walk through the door, we're going to get into an argument. No, if anything happened, it was really happening.
Yeah. Did you have sex with just your partner when you guys are together? Or like when you're in the house, do you have sex with other people when you were camming?
Well,
or you guys are open all the time, or?
Sexually, I'm not open, and it's my personal choice, only because I feel like I want to dedicate all of my time and energy and affection into one person, rather than I feel like spreading myself thin and, having to remember, this person's.
You don't want to spread yourself too wide.
Well, exactly. Well, I feel like when
that was a leg joke.
Somebody, I got it.
Okay. It just wasn't as funny as I was hoping it would be.
I don't want to spread myself too wide because I'm a person who believes that when you're intimate with somebody, you learn about their likes and dislikes. And it's hard for me to remember one person's, let alone like, oh, it wasn't you that liked to be tickled. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. Like, I didn't think about that. I would be horrible at that. I would get everyone jumbled together.
Right.
So when you started dating him then and you were in the cam house, is he an exhibitionist? Like, would he have sex with you in the house?
He did. And no, he's not. He's very much a private person. He made an exception for me personally because of our undying love for each other. No, just because he felt like he wanted to support me in everything that I do. And if that was something that would help me, then he took the L and, took the risk. And, because actually when we dated for the first couple months, he would not come inside the house because of the cameras. He refused. Like we fucked outside. We did everything outside. We talked outside. Everything was outside because he would not come on camera. And then one day he was like, I love you. I care about you. I support you. So I guess I'm just going to say fuck it and come inside.
Wow. And that's a big step though. That is pretty big. I could see how somebody else would be uncomfortable doing that.
Well, I mean, especially since, he's from the city that we're in. So if anybody was to tune in and be like, hey, that's so-and-so, I seen you.
Yeah.
I saw you with that fat girl.
Is that how you refer to yourself normally? Like, how do you like people to, you don't care if somebody like mentioned you like as like fat, like if I was to ask you a question, I wouldn't say large or big. How do you prefer to be, or you don't care?
I believe that how people describe you really shouldn't I'm not sensitive about it. You can call me whatever you want. I don't get offended by words that are used to describe me, even when they're inaccurate, because I feel like you give people the power of feeling like they've insulted you when you say, oh, you called me fat. I'm like, yeah, I'm fat. Congratulations, Captain Obvious. Like, you couldn't find another word to describe me. Like,
right. So
good for you.
What size are you?
I'm a size 22. I weigh about 270 pounds.
Okay. And when you were young, was weight something that was always a part of your life? Was it a struggle for you when you were young, or did you feel bad about it, or what was your experience?
Absolutely. It's been a lifelong, when I hit puberty, I started becoming chubby. I was probably a size 12, 14, which, when you're that age, that's huge. That's fat to everyone else. And so I started getting bullied and people started messing with me. But I've always been pretty strong-minded and strong-willed, and I didn't take no shit from anybody. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'm fat. And I had a long journey with accepting that this is just how I was meant to be. And I've fluctuated. I've gone on fad diets. I've participated in these extreme workout sessions where I'm, working my ass off for hours at a time, and all I did was build up muscle. So it's not for a lack of effort, and I'm not saying that I'll always be a size 22, 270 pounds. And I'm not saying that if you're a big girl that you should, not work towards a healthier lifestyle. I'm simply saying that I'm not going to beat myself up and feel like I'm less of a person simply because I'm a size 22, 270 pound woman. I feel like accept that you are who you are. And if that's who you are, just be the best fucking BBW that you can be. And that's what I've done is like, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, fuck off.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking too. I was like, was it a struggle for you when you're younger? But I'm hoping it's not a struggle for you now because you seem so confident and comfortable.
I did struggle for a very long time. And ironically, the adult industry helped me tremendously with, just before I got into the adult industry, I had pretty much accepted some things in my life. And one of them was I've been a big girl my whole life, and the likeliness of me being skinny. And at that point, I didn't even want to be skinny. I just wanted to be healthy. I made a choice that I was going to accept myself, love myself, and turn this turmoil that I had experienced through most of my young adulthood and turn it around. And when I got into the adult industry, it only amplified it that much more. Having guys that found me attractive and, are jerking off to me and, basically laying down their paychecks just to see me, touch myself. And I'm like, wow, from there it grew. And I'm going to be honest, porn saved me. The adult industry saved me because I was headed down a very dark road that could have led to some very unfortunate endings. And I'm really glad that the porn industry said, hey, you are somebody, you are special, and don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. And so then it just went in the other direction. Now I'm a lot healthier, a lot happier, and mentally a lot better.
That's awesome. How did you get into porn? You were in middle school. You're like, oh, I'm trying to get good grades. And like, where did it veer from going downhill and to being depressed or wherever you were going into finding porn or adult industry, to bring you out of it?
For me, I was working 2 jobs and
What kind of jobs were you working?
I was a bill collector.
That'll depress anyone.
Doing customer service. Yeah, I was doing customer service part-time and a bill collector full-time. And I fell under some health issues and had to take some time off of work and unpaid. And I was like, what am I going to do while I'm at home and I can't make money, I can't work, and I have a family to take care of? So I looked online because this is when the dawn of the internet had basically started. And I looked online and I found this job for a phone sex operator. So I applied, and there you go.
You do have a very cute voice.
Thank you. I can change it too.
Oh, change it for me.
Hold on, I gotta get it. This is Volga, your Russian mistress.
You would do characters like that?
I do all different types of characters. I've got Mommy Dearest and, oh, Stewie, clean up your room. Because there's guys that are into that whole mommy thing, mommy dom. So I have all these different characters that I've created over the years. You want more? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're putting me on the spot. Hold on. Let me,
you can take your time.
My British one is terrible. It's time for tea and crumpet. That's all. Oh, wait. I've got Gloria, my Staten Island, Long Island old lady. Hold on. Dorothy, come and bring me a cigarette. It's time to talk about the girls.
Okay, did people, how would you know if somebody would want to listen to Gloria?
Well, the way that it works on the phone sex line is that you had different characters and there was a different number for each character.
Okay.
I don't do them anymore because it got to be too frustrating trying to on the spot become that particular character. But when I first started, I wasn't even me. And that's how the characters came about, was that I was this random picture and guys would call, and then one guy said, hey, why don't you describe yourself? So I did, and he hung up, and I was like, what just happened? So I called the girl that I worked for, and I was like, hey, I described myself to one of my customers, and he hung up, and she's like, yeah, that's because you described yourself and you aren't your picture. And I was like, well, we need to change that. Put my fat ass up there because I'm cute. Let's do this with me. So that's how it started.
Gotcha. That's cool. Okay, so you said you had a family to support. I don't know about your family.
I did.
What's your family? I'm sorry.
I have grown kids.
Okay.
At the time, remember this is 14 years ago. So at the time, my kids were still living with me. I was a single mom, and they're now grown and, doing their own thing. I'm a grandma now.
Whoa.
Grammy.
You're not even old.
Yeah.
I'm
44.
44. I would have not guessed that from your pictures. Oh, so if people want to go see your pictures and support you, I'll send them to your Instagram page now. I'll also have the link in the show notes, but it's Platinum Puzzy.
Puzzy.
And you've got some really awesome pictures there and photo shoots and stuff that you do, which I love.
Thank you.
Okay, so they were kids and you had to support them, and that's kind of how it started. Then you started sharing your picture and letting people see the real you. Then people started responding better than maybe you thought they were, and you started taking it into more of like video instead of just phone. And then it kept growing from there.
I was definitely surprised at the response that I got from the customers when I showed who I really am. And at the time in 2005, there really wasn't a whole lot of BBWs on the internet. There was a handful, and there were very few sites that featured BBW. So there was a website called candieswildgirls.com, which no longer exists, but the guy that I was dating at the time was like, you should submit your pictures. So he submitted them for me, and immediately she responded with, you're hired, and gave me basically what was needed to get started. And I had to come up with 3 sets of pictures and 3 videos. And I was like, I don't know what to film. So he was like, let's film us together. So there started my introduction into porn. And I pretty much stayed within that same genre of amateur me fucking guys that I was already interested in or already having sex with. I did do a few movies with other companies, but that wasn't for me. And then eventually decided that porn wasn't for me entirely. Well, doing hardcore porn with guys, it's just too much to get a scene done. I'd rather just pull out my dildo, which I know is clean, doesn't talk back, isn't gonna be limp, isn't gonna come too fast or take too long. Like, I like my dildos, so yeah.
Okay. My dildo talks. Yours doesn't talk? Just kidding.
No.
Oh, I should send mine back. Mine's mouthy. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, I'm guessing that you're friends with other women in the industry. What do you get asked for that is different than what a traditional style, skinny fit cam model or porn girl might get asked for? What do you think is the main difference that you have found being a BBW?
Not to say that they don't get asked for it, but probably not as often. The feederism. When I first got into the porn scene, I did not know what it was. I did not understand it. And eventually I would come to face being asked to eat on camera, which was extremely odd to me. But I found it to be quite a profitable experience. So I decided to dive into it more. And now, as an experienced feeder and feedee, which I'll explain what both of those are, I have a lot of experience in the field. A feeder is somebody who feeds another person for their excitement, not necessarily sexual. A lot of times the psyche behind a feeder is that they want to make a girl so big that they become the caretaker of that particular person. In a lot of cases, it's not for everyone, but
like
most of the guys.
Hansel and Gretel?
Yes.
Like, it's like, I'm going to fatten you up so I can eat you?
No, not so much like eat you, but so that I can control you, because if you're unable to move and everything that you do is now dependent upon me, it's more of a control thing. In some cases, some people just get off on watching girls eat. I mean, everyone has their own idea of what a fetish does for them, but for a lot of the guys, it's definitely a control thing. A feedee is the person who's actually eating. So I would be, in that particular instance, considered the feedee because I'm eating the food for the person on the other end of the camera. They want to see you rub your belly. I mean, it's not just the actual eating of the food, it's rubbing your belly and showing that your belly is getting bigger, and, you know, showing your muffin top and talking about different things that you're craving and things that you're unable to do because you're so fat. And, you know, that's pretty much
okay.
the experience.
So is that I mean, I guess if you're making enough money doing it, it doesn't really bother you, but was that weird at first?
Yeah, because like I said, it was odd that somebody wanted to watch me eat. And the first time that I ever got it, the guy wanted me to eat like an entire box of Hostess cupcakes. And I was like, I can't do that. So I ate a couple and stuffed my mouth, and he just wanted me to eat it like very, vigorously, like just stuffing it in and not caring whether there's, whipped cream or cupcake on my face. And I was like, that's weird. Cause I have manners. I was raised in a home that taught me that you don't eat like that. And so, I learned to style my cam show and in the way that I feel comfortable. I'm not comfortable feeding myself that way. Not that there's anything wrong with it for anyone who may be into that. It's just not for me. And I actually have turned it around where I'm the feeder and I'm fattening up my guys that call me so that I don't have to be the one to eat because I'm diabetic and it's unhealthy and I'm trying to be healthier. So me eating a box of cupcakes, which I can't do, is not something I'm willing to try to continue to do. So I've turned it around to where I'm now the feeder, the dom feeder, and I force them to.
You pretend feed it into the camera and they pretend to eat it, or what happens?
No, they usually order food or have food around, and they'll get on cam and they'll have me encourage them to continue to stuff their face. Or like one guy wants me to talk about how I'm going to have sex with him and, put food in his mouth and feed him pizza while we're fucking.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love to eat some pizza.
While you're getting fucked.
Get some D from behind, eat some pizza, and watch a movie.
It's a thing.
Oh my God. Okay. This is hilarious. I don't mean to call it hilarious, but it's just funny to talk about. But okay. So when you were being the feedee and they were making you talk about how fat you are and how you can't do certain things because you're fat, was it kind of like them making you degrade yourself to them? What do you think it was?
For some of them, that's what they wanted. And again, that's why I turned it to where I'm the feeder, the dom feeder versus the submissive feedee, because I'm not submissive and I do not allow degradation towards me at all. So I didn't really, although I entertained it, I didn't entertain the degradation, but I entertained the feeder stuff. I would very adamantly say, you're not going to call me a pig. You're not going to call me a cow. I'm not going to oink. I'm not going to make moo sounds. I'm not going to get on all fours and pretend I'm eating out of a trough. That's not happening.
So this is stuff that people ask you for.
They have.
Yeah. Wow.
And I won't do it. It's actually called the cow fetish is called Hugh Cow. And it's guys that literally want you to dress up like a cow and eat out of a trough, and they call you a cow while you're feasting.
Wow. Just makes me wonder, were they maybe a cow in their last life and the cow that they loved didn't love them, so now they're trying to recreate their past life with cows? Where does that come from?
Well, there's an entire fetish on furries where people pretend to be animals.
Yeah, I know that, but I watched the documentary about that one, but they kind of identify as the animal, mostly kind of from cartoons and stuff when they were young, and they didn't identify with people kind of thing is what I got from it. I'm sure there's more to it, but then they feel comfortable in that animal thing, but that's them,
Right. But if you are the thing, I think it goes back to the whole control psyche. If you are a human and the person that you're dealing with is an animal, you know that you have control over them, because who controls animals? Humans do.
Right.
So I'm thinking that, I don't know for sure, because if you ask any different person, everyone's going to give you a different answer. But I really, truly believe that the psyche behind feederism, being the feeder, is control. And
right.
As a feeder, that's how it is for me. I'm in control. I'm telling you how much you're going to eat.
Right.
And if I tell you to stop, you have to stop. Or if I tell you to continue, you got to continue. So For me, it's control. So I only imagine that it would be the same for other feeders, is that they're controlling a female or whoever the person is on the other end, by telling them how much they're going to eat. And a lot of them...
And what they're going to wear while they do it and what sounds they make. And
right.
Yeah, so it's all of that. But I can imagine, I mean, sexuality is a huge deal to everyone because everyone deals with sexuality, but also everyone deals with food, and everyone's relationship to food is also very different from person to person. So, I mean, it does make sense that people have not issues, but ways of connecting with food that are sexual or have to do with their brain and like wanting to be controlled, because even eating disorders are about controlling food. So it's kind of interesting to think about it in that same way as dominant and submissive with food, because that isn't probably that out there, even though I never really thought about it before.
Well, I think it's kind of like a way of tricking people, because you're not thinking that it would have any control over you, but ideally, I mean, ultimately it does. So it's kind of like a way of tricking someone. And a lot of girls will be like, sure, I'll do it because I got to eat anyway. So I'm getting paid to already do what I'm going to be doing anyways. So I get a free meal out of it and some extra money. But at the end of the day, for me, if it's not under my terms, I don't want to participate in it because I'm not willing to compromise myself for a couple of dollars. It's just not worth it.
Right. You go, girl. You're really cool. This is interesting. Okay, so you don't allow yourself to be degraded at all, but you are more than happy to degrade others.
Oh, yes.
Because you're giving the people what they want, if that's what they want.
It's what I enjoy. I think it comes from the time when I was not submissive, but I was being bullied, and, I didn't really, because I was trying to be a good student and I was trying to be a good kid for my mom. I got into a lot of trouble later on, but for a long time I was very quiet and kept to myself, and I felt boxed in because I'm a very outgoing, very talkative, very vibrant person. And I think those years, this is like kind of like my way of getting back at the guys that used to make fun of me on the bus, even though now I know they liked me. And, I had the bigger boobs, I had the bigger butt, I, had a nice figure. They would never say that then, but it doesn't matter. The way that they treated me and the way that they humiliated me in front of all of those children, all of those kids, those school kids, my classmates, it was very, very humiliating. And now I feel like I'm giving back by, I have a very sadistic mind, a very verbally humiliating mouth, and I'm mean. I can be.
Yeah. So people come to you is it through camming or through Instagram, or how does this happen? And then say one of my fans wants to get degraded, how would they come get you? And then what would that look like?
They could contact me on any social media. I'm on Twitter as Platinum Puzzy and the number 1. I'm on Instagram. I have a website called queenofbbw.com. I'm on all the cam sites. You could email me, platinumpuzzy@gmail.com. You can find me virtually anywhere, and you just contact me. We set up the way that you would pay me and how you want to proceed. If you want my videos, you can go to my clip store, which is fattyfetishes.com. Sky's the limit. If you need it, I've got it, and I'll find a way to get it to you.
Wow. That's cool. Do you have any favorite stories or anything that's really interesting or like crazy that people have asked you for before that kind of threw you off guard, or what was it kind of?
We'll start with some crazy things that I've gotten asked to do that I refuse. One of the things that I've been asked, and it also directly ties into the feederism, is stuffing myself until I throw up. Oh. I'm not going to force myself to puke. That's gross. Again, for those that are, more power to you. It's just, for me, throwing up is very, I don't know, it's just gross. It causes a lot of acid in my throat, and it's just not a pleasant experience. And then there's cleanup afterwards. I don't like to do a whole lot of things that require cleanup after the fact. So that's a weird thing. As far as fun things that I've gotten to do, I love balloon play. There's guys that'll want to watch you blow up balloons. They want you to scrape your fingernails along the latex. They want you to pop them. That's cool. That's fun.
Okay.
Like having a party.
So people just want to watch you blow up balloons?
Yeah, there are people that are into the latex fetish, and sometimes they'll want you to put on latex gloves, but a lot of the guys that are into it's a Looner Fetish will want you to blow up the balloon. They want to watch your mouth on the latex and watch it as it expands and listen to the sounds that it makes while the air is going into the balloon. And then sometimes they want you to like take it, you know how you take the end of the balloon and you like squeeze it and so the air comes out and it's like yeah, they like you to do that kind of stuff, and it's funny.
And that's called a Looner?
It's so easy to do. Looner Fetish, balloon fetish.
Oh,
yes.
Ballooner. Okay. I thought it had something to do with the moon. Okay.
No.
That's interesting. And they like you to do it naked, or it really doesn't matter? They just are more about the balloon and the latex?
I think they're more about the balloon and the latex. I haven't had anybody ask me to do it naked. I have had someone ask me to do it with high heels so that I could step on it and pop the balloon with the heel. I've asked someone to do it with like pointed fingernails. So I've gotten like the Lee press-ons and I'll put those on and then like, pop the balloon with the pointy fingernails. And yeah.
Well, that's a fun one. A ballooner. Do people jerk off, do you know, while you're ballooning?
I've never seen anyone jerk off while I'm doing the balloon stuff. Maybe they do if they buy the video. A lot of guys are embarrassed to jerk off in front of you when they have like different fetishes like that. If they're calling you about a sexual fantasy, 9 times out of 10 they don't have a problem jerking off in front of you. But yeah, when they have like even the feeder guys, I've rarely had anybody actually jerk off in front of me. It's mostly about the food.
Wow. What else do you get?
Small penis humiliation, which is my absolute favorite.
Okay.
I actually have friends that'll laugh with me and I have a laugh line.
What do you mean?
I have a small penis comedy laugh line. So instead of calling in, you know how they used to have the joke of the day? You could call this phone number and you'd call and tell a joke and you'd laugh. Well, this is you call and send me a picture of your small penis or get on cam and show us, and we will laugh at you and crack jokes and tell you what a pathetic loser you are for having such a tiny little dick.
That's so funny. So it sounds like you guys are all together just laughing at their picture?
Sometimes we actually are. I mean, I still have, friends and roommates here. So like a lot of times it just so happens they'll call while I have my friends here and we'll get around the camera and be like, look at your tiny little dick. That's so funny.
That is funny. So that's your favorite?
That's my favorite. Absolutely.
Of all your things.
There's like sissification, cross-dress training.
What is that?
Okay, so sissification is taking a masculine man, and turning them into a sissy or a slut, bimbo, whore, a female. Make them look female. You put a wig on them and stockings and lingerie and heels or a short little skirt, and put makeup on their face and make them look like a woman. And then in a lot of cases, they want to be slutted out. So you set them up with other men who are interested in having their dick sucked by a cross-dresser, AKA sissy. And a lot of it comes from men that work in like corporate America and have these like high profile positions and a lot of responsibility. And, I think that they get into these fetishes because they want to submit to someone and let somebody else tell them what to do. And a lot of times they want to be a slut. They want to.
Okay. So in these cases, they would actually come to you in real life.
Yes.
And you would do that. And then you would have somebody come to where you guys are so they don't have to like go in public and stuff if they don't want to be recognized.
No, you can take them in public.
Okay.
Take them to like a bookstore or a glory hole or maybe a fetish club, or absolutely. You take them out in public. I mean, what are you going to put all that work into turning someone into a beautiful slut and not show it off to the world?
Sissification, it's not just about dressing them up though, right? You also make them feel little.
It's more about feeling feminine, about assuming a more feminine role.
So you're not putting down their masculinity, you're just bringing up their femininity?
Some guys are into just being turned into a feminine sissy. Others want to be humiliated as a man as well. So, I mean, it varies on the person.
How far do people come to see you? What area do you live in?
I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay. So it's a pretty big... I mean, for this to be something you've done multiple times, there must be a decent amount of sissies around Baltimore. Like, how does this work?
They'll travel from all over the world, wherever you are. When I used to live in Las Vegas, they would travel from Europe. I've had someone travel from Asia. I've had someone travel from, all over the world to come and be turned into a sissy, or just to go to a club and get hooked up to the St. Andrew's cross and get spanked and beat. I mean, so when you're into something, you'll go anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's just funny that laughing at penises is your favorite when, like, it sounds pretty fucking fun to sissify somebody and tramp them around and make them glory hole. Like, that's a lot of power.
It is.
Can you talk a little bit more with me about how, or maybe how would, even if people aren't into this as a sexual thing, like, how do you now reach out to women who aren't even in the sex industry that are still BBWs? How do you approach that and, like, trying to make women just feel better in general about themselves? Like, you've been through a very down into a very up part of your life. Any advice that you would give?
The advice that I would give is you have to love yourself first, and accepting who you are doesn't mean you can't change it. It just means that you stop trying to change the inevitable. And self-love is something that will help you find happiness in all aspects of your life. Porn saved me because I wasn't suicidal. I wasn't necessarily majorly depressed, but I was definitely in a very negative headspace, and I was making decisions that weren't the best for me and my family, mostly for myself. And of course, it affected those around me. So once I got into the adult industry, it saved me because I found these talents and skills and was able to learn so many things that would help me as a business person, would help me become an independent business owner. I was working for people and wasn't getting the recognition or wasn't getting the work that I deserved. I worked at a collection agency for nearly 10 years, and I was highly overqualified to be promoted. But because I was female, because I was outspoken, because I was very much a outgoing type person, they didn't feel like I should be in a position of power. And I think a lot of it had to do with intimidation, because I'm overly ambitious and I'm a go-getter. If I want something, I go for it, as I've been able to prove through past projects. So I decided that I wasn't going to accept that that was my fate, and that just because the world was telling me I had to work a 9 to 5, I really didn't feel like I had to work a 9 to 5. So I took it upon myself to do the adult thing full time. I was making more money doing the phone sex and webcam and from my website at that time anyways. So I was like, if I'm making more money by being at home, then I might as well be at home than to come into this job that I totally hate, around people that are not positive influences on my life, and they're not positive influences on my profession, in my professional life. So I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to continue to build someone else's dream. I would rather live paycheck to paycheck building my own dream versus living paycheck to paycheck while I was unhappily helping someone else's.
Awesome. I like to talk to my guests about a sexual scenario bucket list that they haven't had. That's something that you would like to try.
I want to have sex on a boat, like a sailboat out in the middle of the ocean where there's like dolphins and no sharks, but dolphins and like seagulls, and just like out in the middle of like this amazing natural element, and be able to have this like passionate sexual experience where I'm holding on to the edge and getting pounded from behind, and like meanwhile I'm looking at the ocean. I think that would be hot.
That is. Have you been on a sailboat before?
I have been on a sailboat, but I've never had sex on one.
Okay, because it can be pretty shaky. Like, you can get pretty sick feeling. So make sure you take a lot of Dramamine before you go out there. Because if you get out there and you think you're going to puke, you're not really going to want the sex.
Well, here's the thing. If you pound me too hard, I might jump overboard and end up in the water.
Yeah. And then,
pussy aboard.
Right? But look, you have some big boobies as flotation devices, so you're good to float.
I do. Well, I do float, actually. That's funny. I'm a fat girl, and when I go in the pool or in the ocean, I do float.
That's awesome. You could give your life vest to somebody else and save another life.
Exactly.
I have another question. I was thinking about the feederism, and I was wondering if people ever ask you about pooping.
Oh, all the time. All the time. It's funny because I didn't mention this before, but I'm glad you bring this up. One of the reasons why I stopped doing hardcore porn is that my fart fetish was making way more money than my hardcore videos, because eventually the inception of tube sites, which is like Pornhub, X Hamster, and those types of sites, a lot of our porn was being stolen, was being ripped off of our sites or being ripped off and then uploaded to these websites where people could watch them for free. So hardcore porn was easily, and still is, easily accessible on these free sites. So why am I going to pay for your porn when I can go watch it for free? So I started noticing that my fart store was making 3 times, 4 times as much money as my hardcore store.
I'm sorry,
so I said,
are you saying
what?
your fart store?
Fart, F-A-R-T, flatulence.
Okay, your fart store. Okay. I'm just making sure that's what I heard.
Yes.
Okay.
My fart store was making so much more money than my hardcore store, where I'm fucking and sucking and taking life risks, because every time you fuck a new partner, you risk yourself getting a sexually transmitted disease, or it was just a lot of risks involved. And I'm like, farting is easy. All I got to do is turn the camera on, bend over, and fart. So I decided hardcore wasn't for me anymore. So
this is great. I'm glad I asked.
With farting, I'm making money, but the problem is a lot of the people that are into farting are really into the pooping, which is called scat. And that I'm not into.
So you could have made it big, like real big, if you were okay with pooping.
I'll sit on the toilet and you can hear it, but I'm not going to show. I don't want to show that. Like that's a little too much for me. That's taken a little too far. Some people do it, and that's cool, and whatever works for them.
But if it's not your face, like, why does it bother you if you just set the camera up?
Well, it's illegal. For one.
I didn't know poop videos were illegal.
Actually, pooping and peeing, a lot of that stuff is, you'd be surprised. A lot of things are illegal. I think it's ridiculous. I feel like if somebody wants to watch somebody poop, I think that's perfectly at their discretion. If they want to watch somebody pee,
right.
When it gets into like bestiality in children, level. No. That's out. But when it comes to consensual adult entertainment, when it comes to scat and peeing and things of that nature, I think that there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I've farted on a dildo. I've farted in a air freshener, a Febreze air freshener bottle, and said that you're not going to smell the fresh smell that's going to come out of the bottle anymore. It's now going to be my farts. I farted on an inhaler because I have a series called the asthma series, but it's ASSTHMA. And so I farted in the inhaler, and I'm like, you're now going to taste and smell my farts whenever you have an asthma attack. And my ass is going to save you from your asthma. That's your new asthma treatment.
That's so funny. Okay.
I mean, I fart all the time anyway. I might as well.
How do you set up the camera to do that?
Well, I just stick my mobile camera next to my bed, and I've got this cute little handy dandy adjustable stand, and I have a light, and I just put the camera so that it's facing my ass, and I flip over and poop in the camera.
Do you pull your butt cheeks apart and everything?
Sometimes.
Well, this is, sometimes you start a conversation and you don't know you're going to end up talking about farts.
Exactly.
How exciting.
It's funny, though. A lot of guys will ask you to do it on cam. And I'm like, I can't do it on command.
No.
It either happens or it doesn't happen. Now, burping I can do, but I can't fart on command.
Yeah. But guys, they train themselves as children to fart all the time. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah. Boys are gross.
Yeah. Boys are gross.
They do some weird things.
Yeah. They ask for weird things. They want to see weird things. They're lucky they have hot girls like you to deliver them.
That's correct.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing so much stuff with us today.
No problem. I hope you enjoyed.
Yes.
I enjoyed being on your show.
Thank
Thanks
you
for having me.
Thanks. I'll have a lot of your social media links and places for people to find you in the show notes. Platinum, Platinum, Puzzy, Puzzy.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope to see you soon, and best wishes keeping your career going.
No, same to you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. There's nothing that I love more than a strong woman who knows who she is and loves who she is just the way she fucking is and owns it. So let's all learn from that. Platinum Puzzy, go support her on all of her social media. And thank you so much for being here. I love you guys so much. And let's take a quick second to remember that while we are in a place in the world and at a time where we get to have sex with who and how we want, there are a lot of people in this world that aren't fortunate. 10% of any profits that come into Interesting Sex Podcast are going to go to help stop sex and human trafficking. I can't think of anything worse than a child having to be a sex slave. It's horrible. Please subscribe. Always an awkward transition. Please subscribe and rate and review. Follow me on all of my social media shenanigans, Interesting Sex Podcast. I'm most places. I heart you all, and I can't wait to see you next Tuesday to find out what the pussy drags in. Special thanks to the band 41 for this super rad song, 41music.net.
Well, it's a doobity-doo. Yes, it's a doobity-doo. Well, it's a doobity-doo. Yes, it's a doobity-doo. I mean a doobie-doobie-doobie-doobie-doobie-doo. Yeah!